Over to you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. I was trying to follow all the rules. You just mentioned the camera issue.
Thank you.
I hope I have it positioned well.
It's positioned well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Colleagues, fellow members of parliament, I would like to believe that the Secretary, Excellency, Boemo Sekgoma, is part of this meeting. We recognize you. Distinguished guests who will be presenting today, our experts, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I greet you all warmly and extend my heartfelt appreciation for your presence at this important capacity building session. The Executive Secretary, May Boemo Sekgoma, has said this before, that our collaboration with the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is not a one-off exercise, but a strategic investment in the long-term enhancement of parliamentary capacity within the SADC region. I want to put it to you that trade has always been a cornerstone of human progress and prosperity. In fact, there has been global consensus on the benefits that countries derive from trading freely and fairly amongst themselves. It connects nations, it fosters innovation, and drives the growth of industries and livelihoods. Yet, in today's rapidly changing world, the architecture of global trade is undergoing serious transformation. We are witnessing a reconfiguration of trade relations shaped by shifting geopolitical realities, technological advancements, and the pressing imperative of sustainable and inclusive development. At the global level, the World Trade Organization continues to serve as the main anchor of international trade, guided by the fundamental principles of fairness, non-discrimination, and transparency. However, the slow pace of multilateral negotiations has prompted regions and countries to seek alternative pathways to economic cooperation. Across the world, new regional and trade agreements are emerging as instruments for resilience, regionalism, and shared prosperity. Within our own African continent, we now have the Free Trade Area Agreement. And this agreement seeks to create a single continental market for goods and services, supported by the free movement of persons, capital, and investments. It stands as one of the most ambitious projects of our time, not only because it seeks to boost intra-African trade, but because it envisages an Africa that trades more with itself, something that we all would like to see. Industries in the African continent, and also Africa taking full control of its development destiny. For us in Southern African Development Community, SADC, this continental framework aligns closely with our own long-standing goals of regional integration and industrialization. The SADC region has, over the years, developed a robust body to trade and cooperation, removing barriers of trade and creating competitive regional markets. I want to conclude, to save time and avoid venturing into areas that our experts are better placed to lead the discussion. But as we deliberate over the coming sessions, may we be guided by a shared vision to position the SADC region not as a passive participant, but as a driver in shaping the new global trade order. Through unity, foresight, and the new global trade, or rather through unity, foresight, and parliamentary leadership, we can transform our region into a competitive, industrialized, and prosperous hub that truly embodies the spirit of African integration and self-reliance. I thank you, and I assume that we can move to the first presenter. Now, in terms of the program, you will have to guide me once more, Masenate. Do we have both the presenters already locked in?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We shall start our first presentation with Ms. Diane.
With Mr.?
Mrs. Diane.
Okay. That's fine. That means it's now my pleasure to invite Ms. Diane. I hope to pronounce the surname correctly, Sayin Zoga, to make her presentation. She is a Rwandanese national. I wish I knew how to greet in her language, but you are most welcome. She has extensive work experience in development-related areas such as trade and investment promotion, special economic zones, SME support, and gender promotion. She heads the UNCTAD's Regional Office for Africa, based in Addis Ababa. Before assuming the current office that she holds, she served as head of the Special Economic Zones and Exports Facilitation Department at the Rwanda Development Board. She also worked as an advisor in the Office of the Executive Director of the International Trade Center under the Mo Ibrahim Leadership Fellowship Program and at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning in Rwanda. She holds a master's degree in international and development economics from the Economic School of Louvain in Belgium. Ma'am, welcome. It's your time to present.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? And see my presentation?
I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly.
Good, super. So thank you so much, Honorable Chairs, Honorable members of SADC parliamentarians, and colleagues from the SADC Parliamentarians Forum, as well as the colleagues from UNCTAD. Good morning, all of you. And once again, thank you for organizing this second session. Our previous session actually took place last week, and we were supposed to have this one. No, actually, we were on 12th of November, which was postponed for this week. And it's a pleasure having you all today. So this is a series of webinars we are organizing together with the SADC Parliamentarians Forum. And the overall objective is to discuss trade, regional integration, and AfCFTA. And as it was mentioned in the previous session, we will go through different topics, including investment, NTBs, women in business, among many other sessions. So today's session is going to focus mainly on a role of parliamentarians in the implementation of AfCFTA. And we shall briefly look at, sorry, I can't see. Sorry, I'm having a issue sharing my presentation. Just a second, please apologize. Okay, here it's back.
Yes, it is back. You can proceed.
Yes, thank you so much. So I was talking about the content of today's presentation, that it's going to focus mainly on the role of parliamentarians in the implementation of AfCFTA. And of course, we will briefly talk about the AfCFTA as well as its instruments. But really the key focus is to know the role of parliamentarians and how we can move this agenda and make it a reality. So as an introduction, all of us know that the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is one of the African most ambitious integration projects we have on the continent. And the objective is to have a single market for the continent and make easier trade between countries. Honorable chairs, in your introduction, you mentioned the difficulties that are existing currently in terms of trading between African countries. And one of the priorities is to remove those barriers, those challenges, and make sure that we are increasing the volumes of goods and services being traded between our countries. So this initiative started under the African Union guidance and leadership. And as I mentioned, the objective was to have a big market for goods and services across countries. And parliamentarians plays a critical role here in terms of ratification, registration side of this agreement. So your engagement ensures that the AfCFTA delivers inclusive development outcomes. So just to give you an overview, I know very well many of you have heard about this because you participated in the ratification of this agreement. But briefly, it was adopted in 2018 in Rwanda, and it entered into force in May 2019, and the operational phase was launched in July 2019. And then in 2021, in January, that is when officially the trading started. So as of now, almost all the African Union countries are participating to these initiatives. 54 countries out of 55 already signed the agreement. State party ratified this agreement as of middle of this year, 2025. And this includes mainly almost all the SADC member states. So there is what we call countries trading under the guided trading initiative. This was like it was like a pilot phase or a trial of trading this under this AfCFTA. Initially, there was 7 or 8 countries, but as of now, we have more than 39 countries that are participating under this guided trading initiatives. And among those 39 countries you see on the list, we have almost all the SADC countries who are currently participating in these initiatives. So the overall objectives, as I mentioned, is to create a single continental market to boost intra-Africa trade, which is currently very, very low compared to the trade with other continents. So we are currently at 15 or 16%. So we want to promote industrialization and value additions, promoting regional and continental value additions and value chains. We want to strengthen Africa's global trade positions and then support inclusive and sustainable growth. So this is the overall objective of this AfCFTA. Then parliamentarians, they really play a key role into this whole process. So both at national and regional level, they occupied a key role in domesticating the AfCFTA commitment, ensuring oversight of executive actions, and safeguarding that integration process aligned with democratic governance and aspirations of our citizens. So just to share with you the operationalization the mechanism of the AfCFTA. So as I mentioned, there are operational instruments and there are also regulatory instruments. So for the operational instrument, we have the rules of origin manuals, which define the made in Africa goods. And then for calling a product or a good made in Africa, what are the criteria, the conditions, and so on. So this is part of this rules of origin manual. We have an online non-tariff barriers mechanism to report and resolve the trade barriers. There is a Pan-Africa payment settlement system which amplifies cross-border payments. There is an African oversight, an African Trade Observatory, a trade data portal, and the objective of this portal, you can go online and then you will find details. I shared the links, but this portal compared trade and market access information across countries, including product as well as the market. So it's just to give information on the market trend and market transactions that are available, but you can find more details online. There is also what we call the AfCFTA adjustment facility, which helps states to manage transition, this transition of reducing tariffs and so on. Maybe some countries will be affected because they will be losing some tax revenues and so on. So this facility is coming in to assist or to facilitate countries during this transitional period. Then here we have the AfCFTA operational structure, if I can call it. So the operational structure is composed, the governance and the operational structure is composed by these different organs. So there is the General Assembly of the African Union. This one provides the overall strategic guidance and direction. There is also the Council of Ministers responsible for trade. This one oversees the implementation and policy decisions, but we also have committees of senior trade officials to coordinate and monitor the work at technical level. So it's not the head of state or ministers who are doing the work at technical level. There is this level of senior trade officials. And then there is also specialized and subcommittees. These ones handle technical aspects of the protocols, which means rules of origins, NTBs, customs, and trade facilitations, among many other aspects. So we are all of us aware that there is the AfCFTA Secretariat, which is based in Ghana, and they are the one managing day-to-day operations of these initiatives. And also there is the dispute settlement body, which resolves the trade-related disputes among states parties. So I'm going to go through briefly the protocols, but we will have other sessions next year, starting from Feb. We are planning to have more sessions discussing in detail these protocols, but this is a kind of introduction. So it means there is the protocol on trade and goods, on tariff elimination and customs operation. There is the trade in services protocol. This one look at the liberalization and the regulatory transparency, so which aims at opening up key service sectors. There is the dispute and settlement. This one focus on predicting or sorting out disputes. There is the investment protocol, which facilitates investment and protect investment to promote industrialization, job creation, and regional value chains. There is also the intellectual property rights protocol. This one focus on harmonizing IP laws to protect innovators and encourage technology transfer and trade. And again, there is a competition policy to ensure fair competition, prevent distortion, and align national framework for regional integration. We also have the which promote cross-border e-commerce. There is the Women and Youth in Trade protocol, and this one enhance inclusive participation of women and youth in trade through capacity building and access to finance. So briefly, these are the existing protocols, but also let me quickly go through some provisions we have in those protocols, though we will have some details in the coming sessions, as I mentioned. So this is for the protocol on trade in goods. So this one covers the rules of origins, tariff concessions, and customs cooperation, which means align customs, trade facilitation, and NTBs removal. So liberalization is going to happen as follow. This is the small table I shared here. Committed to progressively remove duty on most of products. So which means for non-sensitive products and for LDCs, for the least developed countries, they are going to remove progressively 90% of tariff lines, and this is going to happen in 10 years. So it doesn't mean that they are going immediately to remove the 90%, but it's something which is going to happen in a period of 10 years. So they will be removing in two phases, not at once, like once they remove the 90%. No, it's going to happen in a period of 10 years. And for the non-LDCs, this one is going to happen in a period of 5 years. So there is also what we call sensitive product. For these sensitive products, they will remove 7% of tariff lines will be considered under this category, and this is going to happen in a period of 13 years. And for the non-LDCs, it will take place in a period of 10 years. So there is what we call excluded products. So these ones, countries will not eliminate tariff on these specific products, but this category includes only 3% of tariff lines. So this should represent 10% of intra-Africa trade. So what does it mean? It means that for the remaining 90% of the intra-Africa trade, this one will be covered by the product where the tariffs will be removed in a period of 10 years, as I mentioned. So then regarding the provision on these are the provisions for the protocol on services. So it's aimed at liberalizing key services, including finance, transport, and tourism, communications, among many other services. And this will enable cross-border supply and establishment of different services across countries. So the role of parliamentarians here is to regulate, regulatory review and enabling the environment where these services are going to be implemented. So key provision for the dispute settlement protocol include to establish the dispute settlement mechanism for state parties, and this includes dispute settlement panels and apparate mechanism. And the role of parliamentarians is to ensure compliance and transparency. So for the protocol on investment, this one promotes and protects intra-Africa and ensure a fair and transparent framework. And here as well, parliamentarians, they are playing a key role in terms of aligning national investment laws. So the protocol on competition policy, this one foster innovation and cooperation, and competition policy ensures fair market and inclusion. So parliamentarians can play a key role in terms of reviewing domestic intellectual property and competition laws. For the protocol on women and youth and digital trade, this one, of course, focus on inclusion and digital economy. And also parliamentarians can push gender responsive and youth inclusive trade laws. So even if we are talking, no, let me start with the benefits. Benefits Africa as a continent can get from this AfCFTA. The benefits number one is to reduce the extreme poverty, where we are the World Bank is estimating actually that 30 million people will be potentially lifted out of the extreme poverty. And again, this initiative will increase intra-Africa trade by over 50% in 2030. And remember, in my previous slides, I mentioned that the current trade is at 15 or 16%. And this initiative will create a market of 1.4 billion people, GDP of over 3.4 trillion. It will support SMEs and youth entrepreneurship, reduce dependency on raw commodity. You know very well that our countries are mainly exporting commodity products. We are not adding value. We are not processing our raw materials, but we are expecting with this initiative that many of our raw materials we will be able to add value from the continent. And last but not least, this will strengthen regional value chains and industrial integration. So even if we have many benefits, even if this is really a high-level initiative where all the member states are involved and countries are involved, but we are having implementation challenges. There are so many challenges that are hindering the full implementation of this initiative. But these challenges as well are being discussed, and even some projects are being implemented to try to find these challenges. So the challenge number one is about the infrastructure deficit. We know very well that the connectivity between African countries is very difficult. So here we are talking about the transport, energy, and ICT. We have overlapping regional trade agreements. There are so many trade agreements within the continent, so which means parliamentarians here you will play a key role in terms of aligning these agreements, administrative and customs capacity gaps, non-tariff barriers, and the regulatory misalignment, as well as the need for political commitment and coordination among states. A few of the challenges that are existing currently, though there are different forums and institutions trying to address these challenges as of now. So let us now look at the most important part of the session, which is on the role of parliamentarians in the implementation of AfCFTA. So the role number one is the legislative role, which I believe many of you within your countries, you already did this one, which is related to the ratification of this agreement. So it means parliamentarians, they play a key role in ratification of the AfCFTA agreement and its related protocols. I mentioned some of these protocols briefly. So it means by ratifying the agreement, parliamentarians legally bind their countries to implement its provisions, which means it becomes one of the countries. So it means countries will have to take this into consideration, either in the budgeting, in any process, countries will have to implement this regulation. Second, the domestic law. I mentioned that one of the challenges is the alignment of existing laws within our countries. So legislators must review and amend existing trade, custom, investment, and industrial policies and laws to align with the AfCFTA commitment. So amending national tariff code, for instance, or customs procedures to reflect AfCFTA tariff schedule, this is one of the activities parliamentarians are implementing currently in different countries. So enabling registration, so it means drafting and passing supportive registration, for example, competition and dispute resolution. This is also another activity, another role of parliamentarians in terms of implementing this AfCFTA. So a second role for parliamentarians is an oversight role. So what does it mean? So it means the monitoring of the implementation of this agreement. So parliamentarians hold the executive branch accountable for timely and effective implementation of AfCFTA obligations. So which means in some cases, it will be very important to request periodic progress report for trade from trade ministers or AfCFTA national implementation committees. In many countries, these committees already were established, but it's the role of parliamentarians to follow up, to monitor what is happening, and even requesting report in some cases. So budgetary oversight, parliamentarians, they are the one approving annual budget for their respective countries. So in this case, they will ensure adequate budget allocation for AfCFTA related initiatives such as modernization, trade infrastructure, SME support, and capacity building. And then performance evaluation is also important. So you can use committees, I believe, and it's true, there are some different committees within the parliament, which means committee on trade, on industry, finance, foreign affairs. So these committees can be used to evaluate the economic and social impact of AfCFTA participation on citizens. So it will be very important at a certain point to start analyzing the impact of this initiative on citizens. So with this impact, it can be of job created in terms of exports generated, among many other indicators. Another important role is to the advocacy and representation. So public awareness here is very important. We realize that in many countries, the awareness is still very low, especially for small businesses. They don't know what it means. What does this agreement mean? How can they participate or how they can get benefit from it? So parliamentarians, they act as a bridge builder between the government and citizen, then raising awareness about the benefit and obligation of the AfCFTA is also an important role of parliamentarians. So for instance, they can host constituency forums or public dialogue on AfCFTA just to boost the local, and then make sure that the citizens, they understand how AfCFTA can contribute to local industries and job creation. So stakeholder engagement, this one facilitates inclusive consultations with private sector actors, trade unions, women groups, and youth, to really strengthen the dialogue and discussion and engagement between the stakeholders to make sure that we are like consolidating the views from each one of the citizen, and they also feel like contributing to this initiative. Equity and inclusion. So this one means to promote policies that ensure women and youth and SMEs, they gain from the AfCFTA opportunities and avoid the marginalization of vulnerable groups. So this is an initiative, so which means that is even the reason why we are having a special protocol on women and youth to make sure that everyone is part of this initiative, including the most vulnerable. The role of parliamentarian number 4 is the policy harmonization and regional cooperation. So it means alignment across the states, alignment of different activities, different policies and rules and regulation between countries is also very important. So parliamentarians can advocate for regional policy coherence among neighboring countries to prevent contradiction and duplications. So harmonization, for instance, harmonizing standards, custom documentation, and product certification process, it's very important. So if in one country they certified or they approved the standard of a country, so of a product, that product can be recognized in another country without repeating the process of certification and laboratory tests and so on. So that is very important in this process. So interparliamentary collaboration is also very key. So work with regional communities and other parliamentarians forum, working with the Pan-Africa Parliament to share the best practices and coordinate legislative forms. So this is also another important role. And then cross-border dialogue, like promoting dialogue and participate in joint parliamentary forum to address transnational issues such as border management, infrastructure, and related issues. So capacity building is very key as well. So knowledge development, parliamentarians, they must understand the trade laws, international agreement and economic integration framework to legislate effectively. So this is the reason why we are having organizing regular webinar to increase the awareness of parliamentarians. So to encourage training programs and the study exchange in collaboration with the AfCFTA Secretariat, UN entities, and other development partners. So institutional strengthening, so establish specialized parliamentary committee. I believe in some countries, they already have some committees following up on these initiatives, but establishing these committees fully dedicated to AfCFTA and regional integration issues for sustained oversight and expertise. This will also help a lot in terms of implementing the AfCFTA strategies at national level. Last but not least, it's about promoting accountability and transparency. And this is also one of the key roles of the parliament. So the transparency in negotiations, so parliamentarians should insist on informed and consulted during national AfCFTA negotiations processes. Some of these processes are over. We are now in the stage of implementation, but being involved in this whole process, it's really very important. So monitoring public interest, so is to ensure that the trade liberalization does not undermine national interests, consumer protection, and environmental standards. As we are moving toward the integration, we have to make sure that we protect our citizens, we protect the consumer, and the most importantly, we protect our environment as well. Anti-corruption, this is also very important. So we have to fight from, especially parliamentarians, they have to fight against corruption, supervise the trade-related agencies to prevent corruption and unfair practices that could undermine the AfCFTA. So here there are some few questions we can ask ourselves as I conclude my presentation. So what is the status of ratification in the AfCFTA implementation strategy in your country? So this is important. This is a question you can ask to your trade ministry. This is a question you can ask to your export promotion agency to know what is the current status in your respective countries. So what are the legal gaps, status, and institutional readiness? How are you ready to take advantage from this AfCFTA? So this is really very important to know currently. What is the status? What is the stage? Where is your country? Have you ever started exporting under this AfCFTA? What are the challenges? What are the gaps you are facing currently? So how are SMEs, women, and youth engaged? Are our SMEs aware? Are they aware of this opportunity? Are they involved? Are they trying to take benefit from this opportunity? What is happening? So are their NTBs addressed and tariff implemented? So these are really some of the questions you have to ask yourself and check with the respective institutions to know the current status of your respective countries. So this is the role of SADC Parliamentarian Forum. So to coordinate national and regional legislative alignment, the request progress briefs, establish AfCFTA working group if you don't have it already, to track implementation and capacity building, and coordinate with the SADC secretariats. And then in my conclusion, I can say that this AfCFTA aims at from what we have to do is to transform from the legal framework to the economic system to the implementation, not only to keep it in the document, in the protocol and so on, but to move to the next step of making it a reality and having this part of our economic system. So to link the AfCFTA to industrial policy, this is very important, to green transition and to the food security, and to strengthen domestic institutions for a better regional market. Make integration work for women, youth, and informal sector. Informal sector here is very important. All of us know that our economy is mainly in the informal sector, and we also have to align the national policies to the regional framework. We have to invest in productive capacity and logistic and digital trade readiness. And last but not least, we have to Parliament to oversee implementation and safeguard accountability. So let me pause by here. I think I took too long to make the presentation. Maybe we can discuss during the session of the Q&A and then to hear from you as well. So thank you so much. Over to you, Honorable Moderator.
Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. I think I speak on behalf of all the other members when I say that these are issues that we grapple with at different forums. There is consensus that Africa needs to trade more amongst itself, that by exporting unprocessed goods, we are in effect exporting jobs as well to the more developed countries, which should not really be the case. Allow me at this stage to now introduce the second presenter. We will indeed, Diane Sayinzonga, deal with the questions and comments from colleagues after the second presentation. The second presentation is by Rinaldo Mendiat, a native of Mozambique. I don't know if I say the rules of origin trace him down to Mozambique. He's a program officer for multilateral trade, but is currently the acting senior program officer for trade at the SADC Secretariat. In his current position, he oversees trade in goods, trade in services, and competition policy. He has a bachelor's degree in international relations and diplomacy, master's in international trade law, and PhD in international development. Ronaldo, welcome. The floor is yours. Thank you. Ronaldo, are you there? If you are there, I can't hear anything.
Yes,
okay.
I'm here.
You may go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament, Dumelang. So I'm going to present an overview. I hope that my presentation will be screened out in the screen so that everybody can see it. I don't know if colleagues can help me to put it on the screen.
Secretariat, please do assist him. And do note that you will be expected to have your camera on as you present.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Yes, this is me. I don't know. Can I share it from my site, my presentation? Maybe I'll try to do it.
Please share it.
Okay. Just 1 second, please.
Thank you.
So this is my presentation, honorable members of parliament. I don't know if you can see it.
We can see it. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for those technical issues. Yes, as it was presented, my name is Renaud Mendiak. I'm from short presentation on the global and regional trade AfCFTA and also the key regional trade instruments. Basically, the presentation was crafted looking to the role of the parliamentarian in the trade environment for SADC and also at other instruments. Yes, so honorable members of parliament, as you know, at global level, we have the WTO, which is an organization that all of us are party to in SADC member states. All of them are party to the WTO. Comoro has recently finalized the process of accession. That was the last SADC member states to accede to the WTO. The countries in SADC are full member of the WTO, and the WTO, the umbrella agreement, is the agreement establishing the WTO itself. It covers basically the trading. Can somebody? Oh my God, I'm sorry, members of parliament, there's a noise from this side. Okay, yeah, so it covers the trading goods, trading services, intellectual property rights, but also it covers trade-related issues for investment and also trade-related issues for intellectual property rights as well. Basically, the dispute settlement mechanism is the dispute settlement agreement, whereby member states have agreed in case they have some disputes, so that they can use that platform to submit their cases and also see it resolved as well. So we like to highlight 5 key principles that also link somehow with the role of the parliamentarians. One is the non-discrimination principle, which basically has got 2 sub-principles: the principle of most favored national treatment and also the national treatment, meaning that when goods arrive in a territory of a member state, so those goods should be treated as normally the goods produced in that specific country. So you can't discriminate, because saying that this is a good from that country and that's our own good. So you have to give the equal treatment to all of them. Also, it provides for the reciprocity, ensuring that the trade benefits are balanced, because the idea of the trade environment is not to benefit more some countries and also instead and denying that benefit to other countries. So basically, the the principle is that all countries should have some sort of equal treatment, equal benefit when they are doing trade. And also the binding and enforceable commitments, meaning that what you have agreed is binding to that country. So that here I want to highlight the role of parliamentarians, because most of those instruments are approved at the parliamentarian level. So meaning, for instance, the tariff you have agreed at the WTO, at even SADC and other regional trade environment, those tariffs are binding. So it means that their application should be in a mandatory mode. And also the issue of transparency, meaning that countries should notify other countries when they make changes in their laws, the changes that will have impact to the international trading. So that's those are the principles. And of course, there are some exceptions that talk to the protection of public health, moral, national security. Countries can, if they face some problem, they can say no, because of, we are facing a problem of national security. So let's have some kind of exception. But you have to follow. Basically, that's what I was explaining on the most favored national treatment, meaning that country A and country B, what they agreed should be then extended to all other WTO member states, according to the WTO principles. So that's the principle of most favored national principle. And this is just to show you where we are in terms of the implementation of tariffs. You can see here we are trying a small comparison between developed countries and the developing countries at a very higher level in terms of tariffs. But of course, they apply very low. Actually, the yellow one shows that those are that's the level of the application of the tariff, because the principle says that you can commit at higher level, let's say 20% of in your tariff, MN tariff, but in reality, you can apply lower. You can't apply more than that. You can apply up to 20, you can apply 19, 18, 15, 10, or even 0, but you can't apply, for instance, 21, because this is beyond to what you have committed to. So that's basically the strategy that our country, developing countries, are using in the international. They apply less. And also, maybe from here, Article 24 is one of the main agreements in the WTO level. So that recognized that member states, they can form a customs union and a free trade area. So meaning that those customs union and also those free, like in the case of the SADC, which is at the level of a free trade area, and in the case of SACU, which is at the level of customs union, those are exception to the WTO rules, and that exception is provided for under Article 24, because it means basically that the WTO recognizes that neighboring countries, they can have their special arrangement specifically to them. Some regional areas create their specific arrangement for them, which will be somehow outside the global scope of the WTO. So that's the argument, legal argument, for instance, for the creation of the SADC free trade area. So the understanding is that we as the SADC member states, we share more or less same values. We have more or less some economic problems and also situations. So let's agree to create our special arrangement under the Article 24 so that we can create special arrangement for ourselves, and we trade in a much better condition among ourselves than the treatment that we will give to the products coming from outside our region. And also, this is the same argument that African countries used to come up with the African Continental Free Trade Area. So with the same argument that Africa is a continent, so we can create specific rules and procedures for ourselves as African. So those rules will not be applied to all other countries. For instance, countries from Latin America, America in general, Asia, and also Europe. So that's a very critical instrument that the WTO agreed created, and which is enabling country to create a specific free trade area and also customs union from themselves. But there are some conditions. You can't just go to say Article 24. There are some conditions. Some of the conditions are here, provided that the duties and regulations are not higher after the formation than they were before. And also, they have to facilitate, or they have to promote the elimination on substantially all the tariff lines. This concept is a key because when you take a tariff book, you can have, let's say, 600 tariff lines. So you have to liberalize those tariff lines that really represent the significant portion of the trade. You can't just pick those lines that whose trading are not that significant. That's the meaning of that, substantially all the trade. So meaning the liberalization should go to those lines having substantial volume of trade. So that this is one of the conditions to go to the Article 24. And also the same arrangement has been created for the GATS. GATS is General Agreement for Trade in Services. While the GATT, the previous one, was on trade in goods, this one is more on services, which is another category of economic activities that also can be liberalized. The argument, if you see in the second bullet, the argument is basically the similar, that you have to have substantial sectoral coverage. So meaning that the UN has come up with the service classification, which are 12 services classified according to the UN. But under each services, you have got sub-sectors, sub-services. So when you are liberalizing under your regional agreement, in the case of the GATS, it's provided under Article 5. You have also to do the same. You have to liberalize those sectors and sub-sectors that has got substantial trading, meaningful trading among the regional countries. And also you have to eliminate substantially all the discrimination. So you will see, Member of Parliament, the issues falls under the substantially, that's the key concept, under the WTO agreements. So something you do should really have a substantial meaning in terms of trade in goods, but also trade in services as well. And also, if you come down below the WTO for our African countries, you will see the Organization of Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific States. This is also some sort of engagement among our member states to come up with special disposition for themselves. So that one includes countries in Africa, but also countries in Caribbean and also countries in Pacific. And so far, it has got 79 member states from Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. So this is another layer of engagement at global level in trade, so that we as African, we as a SADC, when we go beyond our continent, we can have another platform that will coordinate our position with the position of the countries from Caribbean and also the position of the countries from the Pacific. Because in somehow, basically that's the cooperation in the Global South, one of the platforms for the cooperation of the Global South. So to harmonize our position so that when we go up to the WTO, for instance, we go in a more coordinated manner. And going down to Africa, honorable members of parliament, you know that we have a lot of other regional economic communities. As I said, taking the provision of Article 24 of the GATT, but also taking the provision of the Article 5 of the GATTs. So member states have organized themselves in several blocks. And in Africa, we have 8 recognized regional economic communities, including SADC, including COMESA, EAC, East African Communities, but also we have other regs like ECOWAS, like EGAD, like CENSAD, and other UMA. So, and also a central community of states of Central Africa, ECAS, which basically combines in our region, it includes Angola, DRC, and other countries in the Central Africa. EAC, in our case of SADC, it also includes United Republic of Tanzania, and COMESA includes 8 countries of SADC as well, from Seychelles, Madagascar, Mauritius, Comoros, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia, and Eswatini. So those countries also belong to the COMESA. And inside SADC, we have SACU, which is a common custom union, comprising of South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini, Botswana, so those countries. So that's the overlapping situation. And that overlapping can have a positive, but also sometimes negative implication for the development, for the dynamics of some of the trade disciplines. Maybe we can discuss that one later during our discussions, but I just want to let you know that our SADC member states are also member to other regional economic communities as well. So now I'm going to finalize giving you an overview of the SADC architecture in terms of the trade regulations. So basically in SADC, honorable members of parliament, we have 2 main protocols dealing with trade. The first protocol is the protocol on trade. This protocol came into force in the year of 2000. And the second is the protocol on trade in services. This one entered into force in 2022. But of course, we have other protocols which are in somehow is related to the protocol on trade in goods and also protocol on trade in services. For instance, the protocol on finance, the protocol on transport, the protocol on ICT. So all other protocol also, they complement the disciplines set under the protocol on trade and under the protocol on trade in services as well. So the principles are the same. And I have to say here that under the protocol on trade, for instance, the disciplines are basically similar to the disciplines under the GATS, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. And even the law, the discipline for the exchange of goods under this protocol are very, very similar to the protocol of to the agreement, general agreement on tariffs and trade. This is because, as I said, this protocol is under the exception provided for under the Article 24 under the GATS. So basically what member states did was to take the WTO disciplines and to narrow them down to the reality of SADC member states. So that's why the two instruments are similar. On the same way, the protocol on trade in services is based, basically the discipline similar from that of GATS, General Agreement on Trade and Services. And also what we did is basically to take that WTO instrument, to reshape it according to our specific needs and also ambitions as a regional economic community. So that's why the two protocols are similar with the protocol of the WTO. And also, I'm going to finally give you an overview of the tripartite. Tripartite is another layer of regional integration, this time combining the three regs, SADC, EAC, and the COMESA. The reason, honorable members of parliament, number one, the fact that most of our member states belongs to more than one reg. So one of the way to facilitate the harmonization of policies and regulation in our regs was through the tripartite platform. I will just give you a case. Let's take one country, let's say Zambia. Zambia is in SADC and also in COMESA. So when it comes to discipline, let's say, for instance, for competition or consumer protection laws. So in the absence of tripartite, you would have COMESA setting its own principles and model law for protection of consumer for COMESA member states, and also SADC setting its own competition policies or competition model law for its own member states. But Zambia belongs to COMESA and SADC. So one of the ways that was identified to facilitate the process was through this platform of the tripartite. In the tripartite, basically we harmonize most of the instruments so that they are similar. In case one country applies one of the instrument is very, very similar to the instrument that was approved on the other reg. So that's one of the arguments. But also we can go beyond that. For instance, on the infrastructure development objective. As you know, honorable members of parliament, in SADC, but also in COMESA, one of the key objectives is to promote the development of our regional infrastructures, for instance, road corridors, rail corridors, and many other infrastructure-related facilities. So, in the absence of the platform of the tripartite, for instance, you could have, for instance, SADC planning its corridor all the way up to Zambia and stop there. And then COMESA will have to take it from there on their side. So under the tripartite, for instance, you can easily coordinate the entire corridor from SADC connecting to the COMESA, then connecting to the EAC. So this kind of tripartite platform is really helpful to integrate our economies in a global market. But also we can say it, for instance, for what? Issues like water resource management. Our rivers, the rivers doesn't obey, the geographics of the regs. So under the tripartite, also you can use that one to harmonize and facilitate the regional integration of our economies. So basically, those are the layers I would like to present to you, members of parliament. Of course, here we are presenting also at the African level, the way the AfCFTA was created through the African Economic Community, the stages that were approved by the African Union Assembly in Lagos. Basically, those are the processes. I'm not going to read them because I understand that also we have to manage our time. That's basically the timeline that was observed since the creation of the African Union organization in 1963 up to now, all the resolution, all the main stages that were observed by our member states in Africa. So that's the end of my presentation. Honorable members of parliament, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rinaldo, for that presentation. And on behalf of my colleagues, I want to extend our most sincere appreciation for that presentation. It's always helpful to get more information about the infrastructure within our region and also understand how it falls into the global, or rather the continental infrastructure, and of course the world trade infrastructure. So thank you very much for that presentation. At this point, colleagues, it's my pleasure to open up for your questions and comments. Alive to the fact that we will be pressed for time, I therefore wish to really emphasize that you be as brief as you possibly can in your intervention so that we don't completely go over the time that was set, given that we all have busy schedules. I don't want people not to participate in future because the one I presided over took much longer and not much was done to protect your interests. So colleagues, it's your time to now come through and make your interventions. Masanati, you will assist me with the identification of those who lift their hands, but yeah, it's your turn. I don't see any hands at the moment, but I guess it's also an opportunity for me as the chairperson to take advantage of my role. Going back to the first presenter, Diane, I have a question. The 15% intra-Africa trade is this a significant improvement from the time in the ratification in 2018 and the launching in 2019 of the African countries free trade area. Where were we in 2019? To be now at 15%, are we seeing some steady or rapid growth, or are we stagnated? And then secondly, and here I'm sure I ask for all my colleagues, MPs who want to monitor their own country progress, what is the easiest reference point for them to be able to see where their countries stand at any point in time, for them to be able to follow up with their national legislature? Thank you.
Oh, Honorable Chair, can we respond or we take different questions? Maybe since this is the only question which is available, I can quickly respond to the first question.
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a very interesting question, by the way, because our trade was between 15 and which I believe we are yet far from that percentage. So that is the percentage of intra-Africa trade. However, since this initiative and since different countries and organizations are implementing different projects and programs that aim at promoting the continental trade. In 2019, as per the AfriEximBank, the trade between African countries was at 73 billion that time. But now, as per their report in 2023, their 2024 report indicates that the trade is currently at 220 billion USD. So which means it's than 3 times that in 2019. So this means we are having so many positive results that can be attributed at one side to different effort from different stakeholders, either in trade facilitation, in streamlining the customs procedures, as well as different trade promotion activities that are happening on the continent. I don't know if you are aware of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which is an event, an annual event, which promotes goods and services from the continent. There is the Biashara Africa, which was initiated by the AfCFTA Secretariat. So all those efforts are starting to have some positive results. Coming years, maybe we will be at 20 or 30% terms of intra-Africa trade. However, we are not yet there. We still have so many things to do. The continent still have so many challenges. I mentioned some of them, including infrastructure, including logistic, connectivity, among many other challenges. However, we are reading to make sure that we are achieving that result, but it's going to happen even if we are not yet there. And it's proven by this statistic I'm sharing from the AfriEximBank. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are those figures also available publicly, the ones that you were quoting? Are they easily
online? This is online. Part of the AfriEximBank report 2020. You can find them online. It's a public report which is available online.
Yes, thank you very much. I had missed that out. Colleagues, any questions or comments directed at any of the two presenters we had. I don't see any hands from my side. And in that case, I would assume that the message from colleagues is that presentations well received, well understood. I kept a close eye on the total number of participants. We did not drop. I think it was only a change of one from 34 to 33. We kept online consistently throughout the presentation. In the absence of any questions or comments, unless if Masanate Molapo from your side, am I correct to say there are no hands that I am seeing, or I'm missing something here?
There are no hands, Honorable Chair, but I see Her Excellency Boyamo Sokhoma has joined us. We can give her the platform. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Very much, Honorable Leader of the Opposition and member of the Trade Committee, Honorable Dumelan Salishando. I don't even know how my camera went on. I've been here. I was not going to actually make any comment, but I guess because I've been given the floor, I'd reiterate the request that you made that perhaps we also just maybe share a PDF of the reports that were being referenced so that we can be able to disseminate the information much more better, or perhaps create a brief on some of these references so that members can cross-reference with certainty with references appended to them. But otherwise, that is all. Just to thank the presenters and thank you for your time in ensuring that you facilitate this session. Significant issues that would shift trade patterns and really mobilize SADC parliaments have really been established in this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam SG. Let me also just finally, one more time, thank the presenters. We can never claim to be fully capacitated. Issues of capacity building will always become relevant as we move forward and try and ensure that our countries move up the industrialization ladder, create the jobs we need, take advantage of the opportunities presented by technology and international trade. Thank you very much, dear presenters. Thank you very much, honorable MPs. I know how the serious demands on your schedules on a daily basis. Thanks for your attendance, and I now hand back to the Secretariat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Masenate, just to mention that, sorry to cut you short, I just put the link to the Afreximbank report, trade report 2025 in the chat box. I don't know if all the participants can access it, but I've put it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And all the both presentations will be shared via email. We have the emails when we all registered. I think we've come to the end of the presentations and end of the session. We look forward to the next session on non-tariff barriers, and we'll hear SADC-specific non-tariff barriers and the role of Parliament in monitoring the accountability when it comes to non-tariff barriers and why we have no regional trade, or why we're not moving forward when it comes to intra-regional trade. And thank you, honorable members. I give it to you, Honorable Chair, to close the session. Thank you for joining us today, honorable members. Thank you, Secretary General. Over to you, Honorable Chair.
Session is closed. Let's simplify it. Good morning and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, honorables. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.